For the past 3 years, I've worked in administration. I handle the day-to-day, the paychecks, the bills, and organise all the receipts. I have a love-hate relationship with Excel, and I've grown so accustomed to my desk that you can't move a single pen without me taking notice. That desk is my kingdom. But yeah, it is about as interesting as a brick. That is, until a few months ago. My supervisor retired, so he took on an outside hire. A lot of people were upset by this, as there were several clear candidates as to who should have gotten that promotion. I had my name in that hat as well. Still, we suspected there was some sort of possible connection between the new hire and our old boss. My new boss was Elaine Garris, early 40s and way too educated for this type of job. At least 2 master's degrees in something I couldn't even pronounce, and all kinds of volunteer work. She'd worked in both government agencies and private enterprises, and all we could see was that she excelled in whatever she did. Elaine was unstoppable. My first impression of her wasn't that great. She just walked in the front door and started making demands without even introducing herself. She ignored the cake the others had gotten for her and just told them to prepare for an inspection of the warehouse. I was just given a memory stick and instructions to install her office administration tool. New mandatory routines. Not even 5 minutes in. It was the strangest tool, consisting only of combinations of letters and numbers. Tool underscore followed by 13 numbers. .exe was the biggest one. What kind of office tool is actually named tool? It didn't seem to work anyway. All I could see was a console window flashing on and off, starting some kind of background code. I thought I'd done something wrong at first, but after about half an hour of trying to copy and paste and run it in other ways, nothing changed. Just a flash on the screen. Then nothing. I explained this to Elaine briefly during lunch, and she told me it was working as intended. It was some sort of data collection tool. I usually lock up at the end of the day. That first day, I was surprised to find Elaine still working in the back room. She was scrunched up in a corner with her laptop, reading something. I cleared my throat, and she looked up. "I'm closing," I said. "You need a minute." "Yeah," she nodded. "Yeah, I need a minute." Her confidence seemed shaken. Whatever she was reading seemed uncomfortable. I studied her for a few seconds before returning to my desk. I stayed 30 minutes late. When she finally came out of the back room, she seemed like her old self again. Leaning over my counter, she tapped her finger on my screen. "Starting tomorrow, there's a new routine," she said. "I'm coming in with a new tool tomorrow. You okay with that?" "Sure, but does it do anything? This last one didn't do anything." "Yeah, it does something," she insisted. "We'll go through it tomorrow." The next day, she was all in. She was seemingly everywhere, going through pretty much every corner of the office. She even cleaned the microwave. She took notes on everything we did, every procedure and routine we adhered to, and all sorts of things we usually just took for granted. She wanted to pull everything we did up by the roots, and she was causing a lot of fuzz in the break room. By lunch, she pulled me aside to introduce a new office tool. Lunch is usually my favourite time of the day. It's the only opportunity to speak to the people in the warehouse. Jürgen is the only one around here that I can talk Netflix with, and being deprived of that simple pleasure kind of put me close to the edge. Still, the boss is the boss. So what could I say? I was introduced to the second tool. It had the same name as the first, only with an extra 2 at the end. I was about to start it up to check if it worked when Elaine put her hand on my arm. "Not now," she said. "Last hour of the day. You'll get a notification." "So what do I do with it?" I asked. "What does it do?" "It collects information," she said. "Just make sure to keep it updated about once every 20 seconds or so." Wait, so I just press update? That's it?" "Yes," smiled Elaine. "And no surfing, no closing the window, just keep it updated and let it run. It is vital." "What happens if I don't? What if I have to go to the bathroom, or what if a client calls? If you don't keep that program updated, you're fired." I laughed. She didn't. At the end of the day, I'd set an alarm for 5 minutes prior. As the clock turned over into a new hour, I launched the program. This one was more than just a flashing console window. It turned the entire screen into a sort of cyan blue, and in the middle of the screen was a small cube with dots of black and white. They sort of resembled QR codes, but there was no way for me to scan it, and every time I pressed update, it turned into something else. All random patterns, but the way it lit up by that cyan blue light made my head hurt. I felt like it was using me for something, but I didn't know what. Like I was gasoline in a car. I did as I was told, and I kept updating every 15 to 20 seconds, just sitting there, pressing the button, over and over. I was so focused I almost got a cramp in my finger. That 1 hour passed me by so slowly, it felt like I'd been sitting there all day. When that hour was finally up, I snapped out of it with a pat on the back. Elaine was, seemingly, happy with my work. I still had no idea what I'd actually done. Coming home that day, I had a migraine. Something about the shifting images and that strong cyan light just made me sick. All the way home, I could have sworn things were turning blue in front of my eyes. Traffic lights, trees, houses, gardens. Colours started to shift and turn. Sometimes, all I could see were these dancing black spots. No, not spots, more like crosses. This became a daily routine. For weeks, I dreaded that final hour of the day. I would feel my heart rate go up before I even looked at the clock, like I could feel what was going to happen. And every day, I was just sitting there, pressing the update button. I tried installing an auto-clicker, but it just didn't seem to work. Also, I got the impression that Elaine wanted me to do it manually. Not that I had the slightest idea of what I was doing, but still. I started getting sick, not just physically, but mentally. That last hour felt awful. I would break down crying in the bathroom, and my stomach would twist and turn. I would get these awful cramps. I lost close to 25 pounds in a month, and I wasn't getting nearly enough sleep. I started hating going to sleep, as all I would dream about would be these squares, the cyan colour, and this awful noise. Of course, there was no noise in the program itself, but I always imagined there was. You know when you look at a picture or a muted video and can almost hear what it sounds like in the back of your mind? That's what it was like to me. Finally, I just couldn't take it anymore. It was a Friday when that last hour came around, and I just didn't start the program. Instead, I just sat there, 100% ready to lose my job. I was fed up. I could feel my eyelids weighing heavy, and there was nothing left to encourage me. Elaine could stop by and shoo me out, and I wouldn't care. All the joy drained out of me. I had to at least try to get away, no matter what my heart was telling me. There was a notification on my computer. Just the sound. Nothing actually popped up. Seconds later, the program started itself. The update button was blinking red. The cyan frame returned, but the box with the black and white spots was empty. I refused to press update again. Not one more time. They'd have to drag me out. It was blinking faster and faster. The disk drive was making this awful squealing noise. The fan was spinning out of control. The computer seemed to beg me to click the button, but I didn't. Suddenly, the noise I'd imagined came to life. This awful bit-crushed scream from some sort of primate. Every colour in the room twisted and turned, slowly becoming cyan. I was bleeding from my nose and my ears were burning hot. I felt like a loudspeaker, like the vibrations from the sound came from inside rather than outside. My eyes were rattling. I fell out of my chair, gasping for air. My finger twitched in the air, trying to click the update button, trying to make it all stop. I could feel a part of myself slipping away from me, lying on the floor and looking out the front door. I could see the sky blinking from cloudy white to command console black. Briefly, I saw the stars. Little lines ran between them, like distant cables, making my world into a tiny bit in a network, a 0 or a 1. And behind it all, far off in the distance, the outline of something else. Someone else. Someone reaching out to me. All of a sudden, it just stopped. Elaine was standing behind my desk, having just pushed the update button. "Do your goddamn job!" Elaine spat. She kicked over the office chair and left me there. I never even noticed I'd been unconscious for 2.5 hours. I don't think I can survive without the update button anymore. I'm dependent on it. If whatever I experienced grew louder or more powerful, I'd get a concussion. It would rattle the eyes out of my skull and burst my eardrums from the inside. I must go back, and I must click it. 1 hour, that last hour of the day. Sometimes I get so worried about missing that click that I think about going in on the weekends to build up a buffer. I've actually done it once. Just thinking about that vision makes my heart race. That awful colour burning into my retinas, the sky flashing in and out of existence. It made me feel so infinitesimally small. Just seeing that colour can make my clicking finger twitch. I feel like I'm being conditioned and threatened into being something I'm not. I think I know what it does. I think it collects time in a way. I think every update takes something from me, and whatever is on the other side of the screen collects it. Not just data, but something. Information, possibility, potential, perhaps. The box in the middle. It took some time to figure out, but I know what it is. It is letters. Some sort of auto-generated letters, articles, emails, the kind of stuff you read every day. Hell, I saw the intro to an article that I later read in the New Yorker. It generates content of some kind, and I think it uses me as a sort of processor. It is making me the computer. I'm not sure why, but I have a theory. I think that whenever someone consumes the content it produces, it takes a little something. It plants an idea or replaces something they remember. It buries deep and waits. It isn't just a program. It is a way for someone to harvest something from, well, everyone. I knew Elaine was too good to be true. Looking into her background, there's too much that just doesn't add up. How come someone with such an elaborate CV never mentions where they went to high school? I don't know how she got this job, but it wasn't legitimate. I'm so close to proving it, I can almost taste it. I don't know how to tell anyone. I don't know if I should. Whatever I make will be tainted by this presence, that pastel nightmare. If there is even the slightest chance of this spreading or affecting someone else, I have to keep it quiet. I also have to write it down, record it, something. I have to remind myself that I'm not crazy, or that I have these worries. I have to remind myself not to be complacent, not to give in. For now, this is just for me. No one can know. No one can read about it. No one can hear about it. This is my secret. I won't let it spread.